So I get it.
Welcome, Anthony. We're just chatting. Hey, Kay. Got some people coming in. I did bring some books to look at. One fun one. How do you feel about Oracle? Have you ever read or
Or
done Oracle cards?
no,
So they're
no, I
kind
have.
of like um so they're kind of like tarot cards, but they they have more native people's roots. And one of my local poets here wrote a poetry book that has an oracle card deck connected to it. And so it's this one. It's called the Elsewhere Oracle.
Hmm. That's
So if
super
you
pretty.
Yeah, it's really pretty, and it's got just really beautiful cards too.
Oh, those are so cool.
And each card is tied to a poem in the book.
Oh, so when you go to read the book, you have like the option of just like using the cards and then reading out of order basically as you
Yep.
draw different cards. That is so cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
So this is one of my favorite things I've come across. Her name's Michelle Batiste, and she's local here in Colorado. And I did one of her workshops recently where we wrote poems. Chose an archetype. So just any archetype. I chose the mother, maiden, and crone, like kind of as a whole, and wrote a poem on it. And then everybody, just chose a different archetype. And then the instruction was to like turn the archetype on its head and write about it. So if anybody's looking for a fun poetry prompt, there you go.
All the people coming in now,
Yeah.
poetry prompts. Write that down.
Pick
That
an
is
archetype, turn it on its head.
so you can kind of approach it from like different perspectives, like positive, negative, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I really like that. I have books as well. I also have just a pile of like different paperwork, notes, questions, that kind of stuff that nothing's very organized for me. I didn't have a plan going into this live, but I figured whatever happened, it would be a good time because it's me and you. So
Let's do it. Well, let's have the cards speak for us. Let's say, what is the intention of our live tonight? Because we don't know. So let's find out.
perfect.
All right. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Ooh, I'm so excited. The healer.
Ooh, cool.
That's cool.
That is cool. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
This is cool.
So now I gotta find in the book where it's the matching card. So that sometimes takes me a minute. One thing I do kind of wish there were numbers on the card to like go to more easily find it if I can speak tonight. I see hi Penelope, Whispering Pirate, Moth Chewed Girl, Michael, Eaton, and Bridget. Welcome. We're having some fun here with an Oracle card deck.
Which is something that I've never done, so it's a first for me. This is super cool.
Page 23. The Healer. So it's got kind of an interesting formatting to it.
Yeah, that is really cool. I like the type, the font.
Begin with poplars, aspen, at elevation, cottonwood, along the creek, poultice of leaf bud, tincture of bark, reduce a fever, lessen muscle ache, joint pain, swelling that will pinch, a nerve, lavender to soothe, worry, betony if the worry can't be soothed, yarrow if the ache is in the tooth, or to substitute bearberry if bearberry can't be found for wounds. Plantain, also good, but better saved for asthma. Allergies, maladies of a woman's waning moon cycle, paired with dandelion to detox, promote digestive health, Mint mixed with Oregon grape cures. Hangovers. Elders treat. Lung ailments. Introduce bee. Palm juniper. Rid the body of mucus. Cure slain for disorders of the heart. Every day. Gather what the woods offer. I do not fear wolves, the hunters, the rare and otherworldly wildfire. It will be the woods that take me, insisting what is reaped will be replaced. I know better than most what can and cannot save us.
Ooh, that one's good. That is a good one, especially for me right now, because like, I have a cold technically, but that was beautiful. Oh my goodness. A round of applause.
Mhm. And then it has an oracle, the oracle that goes with it. So this is like the meaning behind it. Um, so some ailments are fleeting, some are chronic, but everyone hurts. We can become undone by pain, no matter its origin or type, physical or psychological, emotional or spiritual. In our ardent desires to be well and whole, we place our hopes in healers and their remedies. Unscrupulous profiteers exploit that hope, peddling panaceas and snake oil and harmful, misleading promises. Even legitimate medicines and therapies can fail us, and sometimes it may seem the only thing left to do is surrender to illness. But health, in all its physical and metaphysical forms, is worth fighting for. Perhaps you are ignoring a nagging symptom, worried about what you might find out, or maybe a current remedy isn't working or working well. It could be the person who is providing your care is no longer on the right path. While doctors, therapists, healers, and counselors are experts in their fields, you are the only expert of yourself, body and mind. It is time to evaluate the care you are receiving and to be relentless in securing the care that you need.
Ooh, that's good. That's just like a good coincidence because of just everything that I've had to go through with the medical system. That is so good. It's like a almost like a poetry like fortune, you
Yeah,
know?
like Josh, one of my friends on here too, he calls it poetry divination. 'Cause he also he does a practice called poetry divination where you can just like pick a poetry book, and then you just say open it and read what's inside, and that's your fortune, is the poem that you find inside the poetry book. So it's a different, it's not quite exactly the way he does it, but I think it's a cool little, it's really cool. I've always enjoyed oracle cards. Um, and I use tarot a lot for storytelling, and I can explain that if you're interested in that. But
Yeah,
so
that's good.
finding that was really cool.
Yeah, does that help you, like, pick a kind of a direction in terms of, like, mood in a way?
Yeah, it can. So I like to use oracle cards a lot in my day to day as part of like my own therapeutic practice, because a lot of the oracle cards, they're they're very uplifting in most cases. And, so it usually is like a lesson. So sometimes I'll just draw one in the morning and like have that as my intention for the day, or the thing that I ponder, meditate on for that day. But also, as far as like using them for storytelling, you can use the oracle cards to set the mood. You can put a character in it. If you have a character and you like set up a scene and you have a situation, you're like, I don't know how this character would respond. You can draw a card and see, if it gives you any just brainstorming ideas.
Yeah,
Um,
like, you can kind of imagine how things would play out before you kind of commit to anything. I like that. I like that concept. That is super cool. Thank you. Also, like, mine kind of tied into where I'm at as a person, which I didn't expect, but it was kind of like a cool coincidence to be like, "Okay, I'm taking a break. I'm reevaluating, like, the health things of, like, what to do next, what to do going forwards, what rest looks like for me, what just decompressing as a person looks like for me." So it was cool to have that tied into the poem.
I
I
think
just
it's
read
really,
that.
I think it's really interesting too that it came up, and we were just talking earlier this week in comments about delayed care and women not being able to get diagnoses and just like having to fight and fight to advocate for yourself to get the care that you need.
It's like a journey that you have to enter, and you think that it's gonna be one way, you want it to be linear, and it's just really never linear, it seems like. For better or for worse, because I feel like, I don't know, strife kind of builds character, difficulty kind of makes you, I don't know, not give up as easily, but it can also just be such a buzzkill to just go through the motion and be stuck in a loop instead of actually going forwards towards something, so it's a very I get it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been getting worse since the pandemic. I don't know if you've had that experience too.
Things are just very rushed and
Yeah.
very just poorly, I guess I should say, like, the tools that people have at their disposal to use to treat people are just very n experimental almost at this point in time. Even the things that we have had for a pretty long period of time when it comes to physical and mental health, where everything is just growing and moving so quickly and new things are being found out so frequently that it almost feels like you are guessing on what the most current information, current level of care, current everything is gonna be when you go into the process, and sometimes the person that's helping you doesn't have the most current cutting edge information, which is frustrating. There doesn't, I don't know, seem to be any kind of, like, just baseline anymore, which is kind of frustrating. I don't know if that ties into pandemic stuff and everything
Mhm.
shutting down.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of different cause and effect that's happening since the pandemic. I mean, plus just the cost of medical school for doctors to even go through the privatization of hospitals, and you know, I I could talk a lot about, you know, having just for-profit healthcare is just a bad idea. And I think it's just a slippery slope to people not getting the care that they need. So hopefully things will improve in the future. And as much as like we rag on AI and AI has a lot of problems, I do have hope that AI can solve some of the problems that we haven't been able to solve. As far as, in the medical field, some unknowns, like being able to recognize patterns in trends and things like that, and be able to also like be able to better diagnose. I've heard some decent things about some of that, but also there's no laws, so we don't have any like privacy. There's not a lot of privacy laws around the use of AI too. So it's like, well, what information is it getting? Um, and
Yeah,
that's a tangent, but
and I think that, like, it depends on how people apply it to situations where it's like it can be useful for pattern recognition in, like, a clinical environment, but should, like, the medical students that are studying in school right now be using it or, having it write papers or having it participate in the learning
yeah,
process on their behalfs? Is that going to make them prepared when they go into the industry? So I think it's like it would be useful for strengthening infrastructure no matter what that infrastructure happened to be, like how we choose hospital layouts, how a building is put together, what kind of departments it needs to have in the modern
yeah,
era to take care of people. So I see what you're saying and I agree with it in that way where it's like it can be used to make the system better and built upon so that it is stronger going forwards, which I like the idea of as a patient.
Yeah. I think it's a complicated relationship. And as long as, it's for profit, I think that's where a lot of the problems come in, is where profits become more important than people.
Yeah,
Take care.
because it's like, who's gonna make the money, and how is that money going to be redistributed into the company, and why don't patients have a choice in what that money goes towards? And having those kinds of discussions, I think, is kind of important going forwards, where it's like, what is useful to the people who have to be treated for things? And you're right, as long as it's just a private industry, it's something that you buy into different levels of care for, and it's just not fair for all demographics that are in different places financially. Not good. So, that's how I kind of see it. It's been really frustrating to also just be in an industry where people don't they tried their best to get you the right information, but the system is so broken apart that different departments in the same hospital don't even seem to be on the same page, which is frustrating,
Right.
but human. So I think, like, that's the next step in making just the customer service aspect better.
Yeah. I think one question I have for you is, what is something that you've done with trying to do your medical stuff to advocate for yourself that you found really helpful?
Being persistent, like, if I don't get an answer, or if I'm like, a pretty laid back, chill person, so I feel like in conversation with bureaucratic entities, that kind of is a weakness instead of a strength, and so I've noticed that having better social boundaries where it's like, "No, I need this information. It is technically your job description to get this information to me, and I would like it in a timely manner, and I would not like to be pushed off onto somebody else." That is an incredible pressure-inducing social situation to be in, I feel like, but you need to kind of, like, step up and stand up for yourself and be very firm in what you're requesting and how that is going to be done for you, so
Yeah.
that the person that's doing it has a sense of direction and knows that you are serious and going to follow through.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think the other thing that I do on top of that is, like, if they say no, I ask them to document that they have said no in my chart, especially to a piece of care. And that I find that while it feels manipulative in the moment, a lot of times they end up doing the thing that you're needing them to do. And then later it's, oh, sorry, this is really weird, but, you know, um,
And I had to learn that from experience, because it's like, if you don't have something in writing, someone can legally deny that it ever happened. And
exactly.
maybe it's not fully their fault. Maybe they really don't remember it happening. But having that extra safety net of, no, it's official, it's written on paper, is super helpful when you're going through something that comes up in the process that you're not expecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, yeah, having stuff documented, I find like I still struggle with this because I try to take notes, right, before I go into my appointment so I know what I'm going to say. But I have sometimes have this disconnect where I'll write the notes and then I'll sit in front of the doctor and it's just I just kind of go nonverbal, like, to say, for lack of a better term, where it's like I can look at my notes and look at my notes and just not be able to like translate them out loud to the doctor. And then so I'll just like read exactly what I've written down on the note. And then the doctor's like, I'm not worried about that. And I'm just like, okay, but I was worried about that. But then I just kind of shut down because I just really struggle in with doctors in general. Like I just have a real big tendency to shut down and even like just start crying because I have so much medical trauma at this point that it's overwhelming to even like try to advocate. So it's like I try to really prepare myself ahead of time going in as best as I can, like doing my meditations and things like that. But even then, like I can do everything right and still get in that appointment and end up in tears just because I feel like I'm not able to communicate what's really happening.
Yeah, for me, like, I kind of do the same thing, and I also compound the issue by putting it off. Like, due to kind of what you were saying before, just trauma in general, I want to downplay my pain. I want to hide it. I want to not think about it. I want to just keep going and not really check in and just keep kind of going until the wheels fall off. Like, that's kind of how I grew up, where it was like, tough it out, push it, put on your bootstraps. If you don't go to work, that means you do not make money. And if you do not have money, you cannot pay for your medical bills. And so, like, I notice that when I approach healthcare providers, that I subconsciously minimize like my own pain, and I will do what you do, and I will make a list, and then I'll get to the appointment, and maybe I try to check in with myself and I'm like, "Well, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good, and I don't really want this to cost a lot of money, and so I don't really want them to do anything that's unnecessary." And so, like, I go in there and I have the list in my hands, and then I decide, well, saying the list is just gonna make my life worse because it's gonna make, like, the appointment cost more, and it's gonna make things take longer, and I'm probably fine, and everybody in my life is kinda telling me I'm fine. And I should just maybe, like, do the bare minimum, pay the money that I need, go to work, and go home and mind my business. And that causes so much dysregulation and just disassociation in the moment that, like, the conversation with the healthcare provider just can sometimes go very, like, left. Because 'cause I'm either, I'm totally fine," or I'm just so brutally honest and raw about where I'm at that people are like, "Okay, we just met. This is your first appointment with me." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Or my favorite, do you have a behavioral counselor?
Or, "Do you have anyone that you can talk to about this?"
That
And
too.
it's like, I live it. I talk to whoever I need to. Like, I don't and yeah, so I've had a lot of healthcare professionals from a lot of different walks of life where you go into the office and you can kind of tell that maybe they're from a more upper class situation, or maybe, you can't really guess their life story. You can't really get into their private life because they're professionals and there's HIPAA, and you don't need to. You're just trusting their expertise. But in dealing with chronic stress or dealing with chronic emotional issues or mental health diagnoses or just chronic pain in general, a doctor is going to be looking at that from like an outside perspective, I feel like, and they haven't really lived the experience. And so I get a lot of medical professionals that offer me advice on things like chronic stress, where I can tell that they're used to having a job where you get an hour to 30-minute lunch break every day,
Yeah.
or they're used to being able to step out and be like, "I just need 5 minutes to cool down." And it's like when you're in office jobs, when you're in certain industries, you either get that or you don't get that, and that kind of affects how you give advice to people because you're not thinking about maybe them having a different career or having different responsibilities. And so that's been a frustrating process with medical professionals where it's like they just expect life to be a certain way because of how they've lived it, but they don't understand fully that other people are on different levels,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
can't blame
Not,
them for.
yeah. But definitely I've seen not checking their privilege as being an issue of like, okay, I hear you, but also like I'm just, with the nature of my job, I'm tied to my computer. Like I can't just get up whenever I can. Like I have more flexibility now than I did when I started. But when I started, it was like sometimes 5 or 6 hours and you're just stuck to your computer. You cannot take 5 minutes. You have zero time in between things. And,
There's
before
a
that,
finite
yeah,
time to do things, like, you don't have an
yeah,
endless amount of time to get tasks done. Yeah. So,
yeah,
like, you go in and you talk to somebody who's never dealt with that, and they give you medical advice, and you're just kind of like, "Okay."
yeah. Because they're like, well, don't you get 15-minute breaks? And it's like, well, sometimes, but usually that 15-minute break, I am just, taking care of my basic needs, going pee, getting a drink of water, like having a snack real quick. I don't, there's not time for, you have to do the survival stuff first, right? You got to take care of your survival first, and then the de-stressing kind of sometimes comes after that, unfortunately. And that's like, it's a big part that's difficult as someone who teaches to explain to people too, is that like some stuff isn't going to work for you just because you don't have the capacity in your current state, and it's not any fault of your own. It's just the situation you're in. You can't, I mean, if you don't have enough money for your basic needs, like you can't therapy that away. You just can't. You can meditate 24 hours a day, but if you don't have enough food to eat, you don't have a roof overhead, you are never going to feel safe.
Yeah, and I think, like, that kind of ties into just the privatization of the world, the levels of society that you maybe don't ask to get placed in, but that's just where you're at in that current moment, regardless if you're gonna go up and down in the future or if you did in the past, and seeing the difference in between what level of care people can afford in terms of how much they have monetarily to spend on things, how much time they have to spend on things, is just a mind-blowing experience where I remember going to the hospital and interacting with other patients, and some people weren't that worried about being injured. They could just have a job where they got sick leave, they got back pay, they could have, something still coming in. And then there was me who, because of my current problem not being related to a maternity leave, I did not get sick pay. I just had a job to come back to when I wasn't sick anymore, but I wasn't getting paid during that time, and I couldn't apply for benefits because on paper, I still had a job. And so there are people that just don't understand that concept when they go into looking at how realistic medical care is, or just care in general, whether you're talking about therapy or not, where some people do have the time and the privilege to leave and check themselves into a recovery center. And some people, maybe that's a future goal, but they're gonna have to save up for that recovery center.
Right.
It's an investment, you know? So it's hard.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult. And I was with my dad I took care of my dad for 2 years before he passed from cancer, and just trying to deal with the medical center with a cancer diagnosis where this needs to be done now. And everyone just like, oh, well, we can get you in 6 to 8 weeks. And it's like, but this needs to be done now. Like, this is like, and ultimately that led to his death, right? Because we just could not get them to do things fast enough. And it's just infuriating. So hopefully someday,
Yeah, that was a shocking experience that I
yeah,
didn't expect either, where it was like, what do people do if they don't have 6 to 8 weeks to make an appointment? You
yeah,
know? So
yeah.
I
And yep,
here's apologies.
I've got kitty cats walking around trying to get my attention. So I'm going to show Nikki off because he wants to say hi. Say hi, Nikki. He's a sweetie. He's my barnacle. I call him Barnacle Boy because he's just almost always following me around and hanging out with me.
He's like a
Um,
little tiger. I love
yeah,
the color pattern, honestly.
he's very long, and he just likes to be held and cuddled. And I've got him. He likes to get under my hoodie sometimes, like a little. So I want to get him like one of those little pouches Because yeah, he's just the
That's
sweetest little boy. Oh, and I wore my Bob Ross shirt for you today, by the way.
yes. That makes me so excited. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Because honestly, I'm doing this scary, but I'm glad that it's going relatively okay so far.
yeah, I think we're doing great. I mean, yeah, that whole clay painting for me didn't work out, but I found out my box was like just expired that month, like this month it expired. But I emailed the company and they're gonna send me a new kit because my clay was all dried out. It wasn't actually working the way it was supposed to. So it wasn't me.
I love that, and honestly, it was super fun regardless, and I really enjoy, honestly, just hearing you read in general, so and talk. Your voice is just very, like, I don't know, ASMR soothing, and so it was just a fun kind of time to hear you talk through the process, even if the process of clay didn't
Yeah. Well,
that
and like also I was like, well, it's kind of a teaching moment in a way too, because like you can see how I deal with difficulty like as a teacher. Okay, well, you're learning from me and seeing that this is how I handle conflict whenever I run into problems.
and honestly, like, it's it's useful for me on as somebody who, like, grew up on the internet, you see so many, I guess, just videos, clips, interactions online everywhere where it's just curated and everything is perfect and everyone is editing out their mistakes so that it just looks more sped up, more cohesive, more planned, and honestly, taking that pressure away when you come to Substack and just doing a live or just showing people that you're a real human is so refreshing from an audience perspective. So,
Yeah. I mean, I agree. That's kind of like I remember when I first saw you pop up on my Substack because I was like, oh, that's a really cool name. And so I subbed to you and then I just kept seeing you pop up. I don't actually think I had read any of your stuff yet. And then I popped onto one of your lives and I was like, "Oh, she's really cool." And then I started reading your stuff, because I was just like, "Oh, she's really cool." And that's kind of how I started just getting more interested in your writing and who you are as a person. And, you just seem really down to earth. And same thing, like it's not curated. So, you don't curate your life. And I love that too. It honestly gave me a lot of courage to go on my own lives. Because I think after that one was pretty shortly after I did my own first live. Because I was like, oh, well, if she can do it like that in her jammies and she's just reading books, then I can do this. So you did inspire me there. So.
that is such an honor. I love that because I remember I feel like my journey of subscribing to you was I think that maybe I just stumbled upon somebody I somebody's sub chat where you were posting your work into for
Yeah.
promotion, and I clicked I think, like, I just tapped on one of your poems, and I remember I was, like, really impressed, and I read, like, 4 other poems, and I was relatively new to Substack at the time. I mean, I'm still new, but very new, and I was too afraid to like all of them because I didn't wanna, like, be and so I remember I just saved a bunch and subscribed to you and was like, "I'll just come back later." And I kept coming back because just the poetry and the short stories and just when you did your personal anecdotes, um it was just so relatable and just a really enjoyable experience, and it's kind of just oh, I feel like on the internet, it's a waste of time if you're not indulging in things that make you happy or just
Yeah.
take the pressure off, and so thank you for making people happy and taking the pressure off.
Same to you too. Yeah. He's just looking like a big old baby over here. I can't help showing him off. He's just like, oh, you want to show me? I show them how cute I am.
And do you have four cats you
5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my
Even more.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're great. I actually inherited 3 of them from my dad. They're the 3 of them I inherited are siblings, and he's one of them. Um, and then the 4th one I got from my dad, but she was found at a park. She's Cosmo. I wrote a poem about her, Cosmo. She's my little familiar baby. But when I went to go pick up my dad from Texas and bring him to Colorado, I got out of my Uber and she was waiting outside of the front door, and she like wouldn't let me go into the house. She stopped me and meowed at me. And so I pet her. And then I went in the house and she followed me in, and like legitimately she's followed me every moment since then and has been with me. Um
That's such a good origin
yeah.
story, I feel like,
Yeah.
of how you
She's
guys met.
I know she made me feel witchy. I was like I haven't felt witchy in so long, and now I feel witchy again. So,
That's an honor. That and
yeah.
that's fair. That's a special cat that does that.
Yeah, she's very special. And then I have my older girl, which I've had, she's 6. She was my pandemic baby. And so during the pandemic, um, we were all lonely. And me and my husband, we were supposed to get married April 29th of 2020 was our wedding date. I already sent out invitations. We'd already gotten everything, and it got canceled. And so by August, I was just like, you know what? I'm getting a cat. And so I found her online, on like a Facebook group, and she was so tiny. She was 8 weeks old, and she was the best thing I did. Like, I mean, she healed me through the pandemic. She was so much fun. And it's like she was always wanting to play on my breaks and after work. And so she was definitely my little emotional support cat. And she's been amazing. And she's been doing so good with the babies. So we call the 4 others the babies because we kind of brought them all into the house at once, and she's been having fun with them and like kind of part of the colony now, and just her and Nikki wrestle and cut up and play around.
That's so good. I love that. Because I know, like, with introducing cats to each other, sometimes it goes really well and sometimes it does not go so well. So I'm
Yeah,
happy.
it took a little while, but they eventually figured it out.
Yeah, I grew up with, multiple cats. I grew up with 2 cats, um, and it's been a minute since I've owned one, and honestly, there are days where I do miss it, and I'm very excited because my mom just decided to adopt a cat, and so I have the best of both worlds now. Like, I come home, I take care of my tiny dog that kind of acts like a cat.
Yeah,
I go visit my mom. Her cat kinda acts like a dog. They take it out on a leash and go hiking with him and all of that, so it's been a really fun time.
that's awesome.
I I feel like when the time is right, I'll get a cat in adulthood, but for now, it's just me and my cattish dog.
Yeah. Well, and medical bills, vet bills are so high too. Like, and just even cost of animal food has really risen to get the good stuff. It's really expensive. I mean, um, I know some people think it's tacky to talk money, but I don't really care so much. Like, I think for the 5 cats, I think it's like $300 in food a month,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is intense. And I mean, if it would have been purely just like up to me, I wouldn't have adopted this many cats on my own. Like having this many cats, my dad died. Like, how am I going to get rid of the cat?
Well,
Like,
and it's inheritance and extenuating
yeah,
circumstances.
yeah,
Even just from this conversation, I can tell you're kinda like me where it's like, you try your best as a person to follow things through, and when you're taking care of other life forms, you don't wanna bite off more than you can chew. You wanna bite off just enough to push yourself as a person,
yeah.
enjoy your animals, and sometimes that journey just things just happen.
Yep, things happen. So we ended up with 5 cats, but they're just so much fun, and they've been loving having a lot of room to run around now because we were in a 2-bedroom apartment before, and we're in like a big house now, so they're like having just a blast running around and acting fools.
That is so awesome, and I see the cat tree behind you, so obviously they
Yeah,
are.
I put it hoping that somebody would get up there and like start messing around, but nobody's bitten yet. I see him. There's one in the we got one in the window, and one's messing with the bed trying to get underneath it.
Oh, maybe at one point, but
Yeah,
I
we'll
feel
see.
like out of all of the domesticated creatures, cats exercise their free will more so than all the others, so I get
Yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah.
they do what they do.
One funny thing. So Nikki's really tall, and we have lever doors. All of our handles have levers. He's figured out how to open them. So we had to put baby locks. And he's also figured out how to get in the cabinet. So we've had to baby proof our entire house because he'll get stressed out and just open all the doors. He's like, "Where's mom? Open doors until."
That's honestly so endearing, though, in a way. Slightly annoying, but endearing nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just like, you're going to the bathroom and the cat opens the door and you're like, man, please don't do that. So we had to. It's fine. We found solutions, but it's funny.
They really are just like I'm sure they are like a little pack of, like, toddlers that just kind of run around and
Yeah, they
that's
really are.
info.
And like they just have their own little personalities. And like Cosmo she's wild, but she talks. Like she talks so much. She's always meow 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 meow. And she'll bully me because she wants to go outside to watch the birdies from the backyard because I have that little, I don't know if you saw the pictures, but I have this little like mesh patio out there.
Yeah,
But
I
she is
have.
lately, yeah, this week she decided that it's a hamster ball. So when she's been in there herself, she's been trying to hamster ball it around the patio and trying to go out in the yard. And I'm like, no, because she has caught a bird through that mesh before, like through the mesh. So
That's skill.
yeah, my last apartment, she caught 4 birds from the patio, which none were harmed. They were all safe. She doesn't hurt them. She just tries to bring them to me and it's like, Mom, look, I caught you bird. So I'm just like, I just have to get it. I have to trade her like some treats for the bird and she'll let the bird go and it flies away. So no harm, no foul. Um,
That is awesome. That is so cool. I think I had multiple times in my childhood where, yeah, the cat would bring a live bird or a live mouse into the house and just kinda let it go. Show it off to the whole family, and that was always a time. More dramatic, I'm sure, for the bird's perspective, but that is so cool. I'm so glad that they are, like, moved in and acclimated, and I'm sure that it's just an endless, like, I don't know, playground of cats. I would be
yeah.
a pretty happy camper, so congratulations
Oh,
on
I have
cat parenthood.
yeah. I have a blast with them. They're so much fun. Yeah, we got some cat action now.
Yay!
That's Rami. She's the 6-year-old.
So pretty.
Yeah, and she's the queen, which it's kind of cool that y'all are getting to see her because she usually doesn't like if people are in the house, she's a scary cat, so she's afraid of people. Um,
A little hider.
yeah,
I get that, I'm the
but
same way.
yeah, she likes to hide, but she's a sweetie.
Oh, I'm so glad that I did mention beforehand that it would be cool if one of them got up there, so
Yeah,
thank you,
got
universe.
it.
But the one thing that I didn't bring, which I'm remembering from our conversation before this, is I didn't bring in my Shelf Silverstein books. How my house is laid out is Yes,
I got you.
of course. I'm gonna have to run and grab mine. I just have multiple just book sections
Yeah,
spread on multiple shelves throughout my house, and I'm just like so please excuse me
go for it.
while I go get my Shel Silverstein book, and maybe I'll plug you guys in. I'll plug everybody in and let you guys charge. Hopefully, the connection too has been okay. I've been having Wi-Fi issues, and I was just praying that my Andy Live was going to be fixed. So,
So far, so good.
yeah, that's all that matters. And I will be right back. Okay.
Let's see. We can read while we wait. This one's called Opening Night by Shel Silverstein. She had the jitters. She had the flu. She showed up late. She missed her cue. She kicked the director. She screamed at the crew and tripped on a prop and fell in some goo and ripped her costume a place or two. Then she forgot a line she knew and went meow instead of moo. She heard him giggle. She heard him boo. The program sailed. The popcorn flew. As she stomped off stage with a boo hoo hoo, the fringe of the curtain got caught in her shoe. The set crashed down. The lights did too. Maybe that's why she didn't want to do an interview.
That's me if I go to a job interview.
Yes. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of perfect.
Let me make sure that you guys and
And
Wendy.
that one's from this compilation I have.
Ooh. I feel like I did have Where the Sidewalk Ends at one point, but I only have Falling Up, but that's okay. It might too. I have like, which I thought about pulling out for this live. I do have directly underneath me a huge just box of all of my childhood books because for some reason, I don't know about you, but I saved my favorites from childhood just to reminisce. Sometimes I'm not a babysitter. I don't plan on having kids, but you're attached to things and you just keep them and I've kept mine. So if you want a tour of that, I can give you a tour of that. But yeah, Shel Silverstein was a big one for me and Roald Dahl was a big one for me and all of the classics.
Yeah, I got an Emily Dickinson, and then this the Mary Oliver Primitive American Primitive.
I feel like that's on my list of books that I'm trying to read this year, but I'm not sure. I also really liked The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgins Burnett.
That's a good one.
So good. And I was for a little while I was a fan of Anne of Green Gables growing up too.
Yeah, I was in Little House on the Prairie. I really loved. Um, while problematic, I was super into Gone with the Wind when I was young too.
I do
Um,
have a copy of Gone with the
yeah,
Wind and Lonesome Dove, which I haven't attempted to read Lonesome Dove, but I feel like Gothic Western kind of under the same
yeah,
umbrella, so I'm interested. It's on my list. But yeah, and with Shel Silverstein too, he's really cool because I with certain authors, it's really cool when they make children's books, they make coming of age books, and then they also make adult books that you
yeah.
get to enjoy throughout your life. So magical. And unrelated and like maybe unrelated, but still something cool to kind of have to dive into where one author kind of follows you through life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just realized mine is signed by my grandparents, which is pretty special considering I lost my grandfather now, I think a year and a half ago. Um, but yeah,
Okay, so actually, so's mine.
I love that. You guys, we're matching, like, I love
That's
it.
so cool. And then I opened to a poem earlier when we were talking about spell divination, and I saved it, or poetry divination. I saved it, um, but I didn't read it then because I was like, huh, that seems like it's for me, but I don't think it was just for me. It's surprise. My grandpa went to Myrtle Beach and sent us back a turtle each. And then he went to Kathmandu and mailed a real live cockatoo. From Rio, an iguana came, a smelly goat arrived from Spain. Now he's in India, you see. My grandpa always thinks of me.
Oh, that is so good. I'm sorry I dropped my book in the process, but yeah, oh, that's destiny right there.
Yeah, and it's even more meaningful because both of our books were signed by our grandparents. That's super cool.
I think that that is for anybody in the chat that maybe has, kids or you have nieces or you even have friends with kids, such a lost art in the 21st century right now is getting a book and signing it. You don't even have to do it for a kid. You could do it for your significant other or somebody that you really care about. But like just that personal touch of finding like a vintage book with like it being dedicated to somebody that somebody took the time to write a note in it or like we just realized like from our own families where it becomes a time capsule, not just an object, not just a story, but like a moment, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually one of my other ones, I guess I picked it up at a thrift because it's got a dedication in it to someone else.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite little things to find are like book dedications or old postcards or old
Yeah.
bookmarks. Underrated. Just a really enjoyable experience when you open something up and there's just a little like side quest, a little gift, a little like personalization.
You know what I really love is finding ones that have the old library cards in the front with the handwritten names and dates. Those are so cool. I've ended up with a couple of those.
Yeah, I collect Nancy Drew books and I have a couple definitely with just like the stamps inside or the little signatures.
That's
Pe-
cool. Did you want to pick one to read?
Sure, I would love to. Um, if y'all have attended my lives before, I'm very dyslexic and I'm on a journey to learn how to read aloud. Um, and sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes it goes really well for me, but we're just on along for the ride on the journey. And one that I remember really just enjoying and being entertained by is The Writer Waiting. I
Oh,
always
that's a
know
good
by
one.
the little kid with the computer. And so I'll read that guy. Oh, this shiny new computer. There just isn't nothing cuter. It knows everything the world ever knew. And with this great computer, I don't need no writin' tutor. 'Cause there ain't a single thing that it can't do. It can sort and it can spell. It can punctuate as well. It can find the file and underline and type. It can edit and select. It can copy and correct. So I'll have a whole book written by tonight, just as soon as it can think of what to write. And honestly, like growing up as like a Gen Z kid, one of the ones that I felt stuck out at me at the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean when that one came out, I guess, gosh, I probably hadn't used computers a whole lot yet to write.
yeah, when did this come out? My copyright is 1996.
1996. Yeah, so I would have been 9. And so we didn't have I think we had an I had an MS-DOS computer. I did. And I would sometimes write screenplays on it, like little funny screenplays that I would make my third grade friends enact with me on the playground.
I love that. I love it, like the little,
I
like,
was a
playground
little
play.
director. Yeah.
That is so fun. I love that. Aw. I also just flipping through this just makes me really appreciate the little art and the doodles because as a kid, sometimes I would be like a little bit freaked out by Shel Silverstein's like art. But as an adult, it's just like it fits very well with like the poetic lessons that he
Yeah.
kind of hammers in. And I feel like I have a very newfound appreciation for that as I've grown up.
I mean, and some of them are just so interesting too. Yeah. Yeah, and then you've got the spelling bee.
Yeah,
And like
and the
the bar with
tattoo one, I don't know where the tattoo one is on here, but and then this is my bookmark, everybody. I I
oh, that's
got, like,
pretty.
a box of these when my grandmother went to China. I've never been, but I have bookmarks.
That's pretty. Yeah, I've not been myself, but someday maybe.
Me neither. It's definitely, like, on the bucket list, but, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
It's fun. But, yeah, this has kind of inspired now that I've gone through, like I kind of before this went through following up to prepare for this live, and I ended up rereading some of Matilda by Roald Dahl just for
Yeah.
kicks, which I really enjoyed, and then I found myself reading The Twits, which I forgot about that one by Roald Dahl, so thank you for setting me into a time capsule of age.
Nice. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Matilda's good. James and the Giant Peach was always really good. Trying to think of other stuff that was good from them. I read a lot of Matilda,
Yeah.
and my husband likes to compare me to Amelia Bedelia because I take everything very literally.
I remember too, maybe other people in the chat will remember this, Junie B. Jones for me
Yeah,
was a big deal. As a very awkward kid that had the occasional questionable outburst, Junie B. Jones was definitely a highlight of my childhood. She understood me.
I have received that comparison as well, but I have not looked into Junie B. Jones. It's one that was, if I did see it, I don't remember it. I might have been a little older, or like a little. I don't know if it when it came out. I'll have to look.
I don't either because I came after the fact. It was definitely, like, pretty vintage just at the time that I came of age. Um, and I feel like as an adult, if I went back and reread it, I might not have the same, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Okay. I I do recognize the covers, but I don't remember reading it for some reason. But I don't
yeah.
remember a lot of things.
That's how I feel with Goosebumps because it's like I definitely
Yeah.
read R.L. Stine, that's a staple. I feel like everybody like 90s, early 2000s, if you're a teacher, if you're a student, you'll just know. But do I remember a single one in particular? But I was there. But yeah, I've definitely since joining Substack too, just in general, had a lot of fun going back and revisiting some of my old favorites and just increasing the length of my already just monstrous book list that I have going.
Yeah, actually, I posted a few notes asking for recommendations for books, and so now I have a book list of things to read that is really long. Like, okay, I can't ask that question for a long time now because I have too many book recommendations now.
That's how I feel too, because at first I wasn't writing anything down and I would go back and revisit like comments and stuff when people would give me recommendations. And that's one of the main reasons why I had to get a Substack, like, binder together because I had to write down movie recommendations, book recommendations, song recommendations. Everybody on this app just has such interesting taste, and I just wanna, like, listen and read it all.
Yeah, I have my version of the binder is my endless spreadsheets.
I do like a good spreadsheet. I also am very satisfied by a good sheet of graph paper
Yeah,
and a good
that's good
ruler.
too. Yeah. I like post-it notes. I write lists and things on post-it notes a lot too.
Honestly, I should get more into Post-it notes. Right now, I'm very into index cards
Mm,
because I can just slide them into, like, my purse for grocery shopping, and it's not the same as carrying maybe, like, a whole notebook. I know
yeah.
you can just type it into your phone. Do I? No.
I I started writing the lists down and then taking a picture of them with my phone so that I have the picture of the list in my phone because
That's
yeah, because I remember it better if I write it down, right? If I type it into my phone, I'm probably not going to remember the thing. But if I write it down first, I'm more likely to remember it. But yeah, the taking the picture of the list has been helpful a few times.
I need to do that. I feel like I'm gonna remember that. Maybe that'll be helpful for other people that are here too.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm doing that. I just especially with passwords, especially with things that you just have to have an extra copy of,
yeah,
it's like a good security. I'm trying to be better at just organizing paperwork. In general, I'm on that kind of journey of just going through all of, like, just the things that I've collected throughout the years, so I have been looking into just researching different organization strategies going forwards because it's something I lack.
yeah. I My organization comes and goes. I can organize things, whether or not I can keep them organized is questionable. I do have really terrible memory. Um, and well, like I have really good memory and really terrible memory, but it's like surprise, I don't know which one you're gonna get. I can remember something from, you know, 20, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Do I need to know that? Absolutely not. But did I learn it for a class in fourth grade? I did, and now I can't forget it. But I can't remember, like, you know, did I put my cat's meds on his left ear or his right ear last night? So,
I completely relate, I get that.
so it's totally hit or miss. So I have to pretend like my memory is trash to ensure that everything gets memorized.
I do have, like, the intrusive thought every so often when, like, a new pop song comes out or a new company gets a new jingle where I'm like, "Oh god, is this something like the 1-800, like, 588-2300 Empire thing where, like, it's gonna take up valuable memory in my brain that I need for other things?" Like or the,
Yeah.
like, 876 cash now commercial, like, I still have all of those just
Yeah. I have a fun writing prompt for you then.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, so take a sheet of paper whenever you have those come out, take a sheet of paper and just write down as many of those as you can think of. Just write them all down. So as soon like go into your brain and see how many things you can pull out and then write them all down and then use them to write a poem.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay, and I'm gonna read you one. I don't think I submitted this to a competition. If I did, we'll just pretend I didn't, and nobody tell anybody I read it. But this is one I
Also
did like this in high school. Go ahead.
also, you're not posting it, so it doesn't count, so
Yeah,
don't
right. Exactly. Um, so I pulled basically the request was to go home and watch TV all weekend back when we had standard cable with commercial breaks and to pull out as many phrases as you could from the commercials and then turn those into a poem. And so this was 2004. So this will also be a trip back in time because these are all commercials that were going on in 2004. So it's called Politics, My Anti-Drug. May God bless America. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? Raise your hand if you believe in God. Now raise your hand if you don't. Now everyone's hands are raised. Now we are equal. Now we are not. Can you hear me now? I'm crying out for my one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. I am an army of one. I will be heard. This voice has been stifled too long. America, are you built like a rock? Will you crumble? Truth. This country is divided. I want to close my eyes and imagine this country is one. America, it says free, it just doesn't taste free. Politics, my anti-drug. While I watch them get caught with drugs. Are you done banning books yet? Life is complicated enough. Now I have to fight for my right to read. I have to fight for my right to love. Now are you done with this prejudice? When will this fighting end? When our soldiers come home a hero? This war keeps going and going and going. I want to break free from this hatred. There is war enough on our own soil. Homicide, suicide, motherhood. Have you seen our country's teens lately? They're crying out for love. This country has fallen and it can't get up. Politics, my anti-drug.
Also,
Thank you.
this right here is why I subscribe to Andy. Incredible reader, incredible poet. Anything past, present, or future that I hear from you just like blows me away.
Oh, thank you.
You're
And I wrote this
welcome.
one my junior year of high school. So it
Like,
hasn't been edited since then.
so good and just really inspiring just in terms of just process. Like, that you can create that as a junior in high school and come as far as you have as a poet. It's just an amazing thing to see, to read, and to experience.
Thank you. Like I love reading them too because it's just like 16-year-old me didn't think she was very good at writing, you know. But then I read it back and like I could have written this today. This is great. Like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it needs anything, right? And unfortunately, it feels like it still perfectly fits in our current world, which is disappointing that we're now 20 years later, or 22 years later, it's my 20th high school anniversary coming up, and we're still in the same place, unfortunately.
And it's honestly just done with so much humanity, and it just makes me feel like you're very tapped in to the world and how society is, where it's going, and where it has been. So thank you
You're welcome.
for
And
understanding.
I know I have another one that's in the political vein that I wrote that I did submit to contests. I'm waiting to hear back. I'll know by July 1st if that one hits, and if not, I'll read that one with you too. 'Cause I think it's kind of almost a continuation in a way. But again, like I pulled, I don't know if how many of the phrases that you caught, but like "May God bless America," that was of course all over TV. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Alanis Morissette was very popular, so her stuff was everything. Um,
The Life Alert
the
reference too, I
yeah,
really liked
yeah,
that.
the life blower. Um, and then let's see, there's a "Are you built like a rock?" So that's I think it was a Ford commercial.
For, like, the trucks.
Yeah, for like the truck.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Um,
It's very, like, disjointed, and then you bring it all together, and it has a very nice flow where, like, all of the references are very different from each other, but they go very well together in their
yeah,
place in the poem.
yeah. Oh yeah, and then when our soldiers come home a hero, that was on army recruiting videos. So yeah, but it's a really fun way. Like I really like playing poetry games like that of like just you know taking interesting topics and then blending them together. So
Honestly, it just sounds like it's a very creative direction to send your brain, and it's something that I'm relatively new at in terms of, like, just getting back into prompts or just little, like, mini workshops where you kind of approach writing from a different perspective or with different rules, and it's something that's very, very much tested me recently as a writer and brought me outside of my comfort zone, so it's something that I
yeah.
appreciate.
See, and another interesting thing I'm thinking about that ties in kind of the tarot card oracle thing that we were talking about, but also character building. So I don't know how I always have kind of struggled with character building, but I got into playing Dungeons and Dragons with my husband a few years. This was pre-pandemic, so I want to say it was like 2017 or so. We got into playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I started building characters. And it just dawned on me. I was like, oh, I could use these characters to write stories about. That would be cool. Um, and but one thing I learned was you could take for character creations in RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or just your stories, you can take your character and you can use the tarot cards to help build them out. So say, what is my character's past? Draw a card. What is my character's present? Draw a card. What is my character's future? Draw a card. And then you read the book to find out what each card means to help you develop an idea of like who your character is. And it gives you like just a direction to go, even if it's not telling you what it is, it gives you a direction to look in to find out more about your character. Because you may be sitting there with the card and be like, oh, well, no, my character wouldn't be like that at all. Well, then you've just learned something about your character. you know?
Yeah, it forces you almost to make decisions about where you want the direction of, I don't know, like events to go. Where it's like when you think about a story, your character is being shaped by the trials that they're going to go through. And so, like, when I feel like you do that, you have a better understanding of just the general mood you want to go with so that you don't begin the process and then have regrets and have to backtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think if you get to know, like, I really like to try to get to know my characters before I write stories about them. It helps me to like just know what like because then I can put them in any situation, and just kind of be like, oh, like, I know this character as a person, and this is the choice that they would want. This is the choice that they would make in this situation. Um,
Well, also too, like, it just makes the book, when somebody goes to read it, more cohesive
yeah,
and, some you want to imagine you wanna suspend people in disbelief, sure, but you do wanna have an aspect of reality in there where your character isn't gonna do a 180 halfway through your story and
mhm.
make a choice that your audience wouldn't think they would make.
Cough, cough. Game of Thrones, cough.
Yeah. Where it's like whiplash, but in, like, a bad way, where it's like whiplash, not I don't
Yeah,
know, like, a
yeah,
good
because
time.
yeah, completely.
Not a pleasant reading experience,
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say. Thank you for your patience too, because I always get a little bit or maybe pre-Substack more. I always get a little bit, like, anxious about talking to people in the art and literary community because I'm so just, like I'm not very knowledgeable. I'm surface level. I'm here for vibes. I'm just catching up. I spent a lot of my time just, like, working and diverting my attention from my passions. Part of that is the subconscious battle of, like, feeling like you don't deserve to do the things that bring you happiness or whatever. That's separate, but it's very nice to have a conversation where you're included at where you're at in your knowledge, I guess, because I just don't consider myself a scholar. And so when I talk to other people in the literary community or art community, sometimes they're just like, "Okay, we can kinda tell you don't know what you're talking about." But I don't feel that way on Substack, and I especially don't feel that way talking about things like this with you, so I really appreciate just being included in the convo.
Of course, and I think, like, for me, like, I'm not really a scholar either. Like, I mean, I started college, but I didn't finish. And like everything I know is from reading books and researching on the internet. So if anything, I'm an internet researcher, internet scholar. I don't know. But I kind of run into that too because I go to poetry open mics and stuff, and most of my stuff's free verse. I'm learning how to write forms, but I've always just kind of written free verse my whole life. And so that's been really interesting because they'll ask me, if I had a specific thing in mind or a specific form, and I just don't always know how to respond. So I think I approach writing from a very, I don't know, human level of just, I'm not trying to approach this from a scholastic level. I'm trying to approach it as a storyteller. And like when I think of myself telling stories and writing stories for people, like it's more from a perspective like being the village storyteller, right? Of sitting in a group with people and telling them a story, not so much as like becoming the best fiction writer or anything. I just want to entertain people. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that a lot of like 21st century writers kind of forget that aspect and they kind of want to separate themselves from the crowd. And I like the way that you explain it, where you want to essentially like build some level of community where, as you were saying, village storyteller, you have people around you enjoying the ambiance of your story and then passing your story and creating their own stories and building off of different ideas and concepts. And I think that that's the kind of literary community that I would really much rather want to be in than
yeah,
something with a little more pressure.
right. Well, I mean, I think back of like some of the best stories I've ever heard. Where did they happen? They happened at parties around a bonfire, you know? And those people weren't writers, but they had stories to tell and they were wonderful stories that I enjoyed. Does it matter if they know grammar? Hell no. You know, I think that I think a lot of it is lost in the way we run society of just like we have to monetize everything. Just monetize, monetize, monetize. And we're put in a position where even if we don't want to do that, we are forced to do it because we have to eat. I think I mentioned this on my last live too, a little bit of just like if I could just trade and barter for everything, I would happily do so. I've got a lot of skills, and I've told people before, if you want to come to my writing workshop and there's a price tag on it, reach out to me. We'll figure it out. We can trade something or I'll do it for free if you just can't afford it because I'm not here to like gatekeep people. I'm not here to gatekeep knowledge. And I'm here to just build community and spread love and kindness. And, I think a lot of my stories have a lot of that love and kindness and positivity that can help um, people that are just existing in a really tough time right now and just give them a few minutes out of the funk.
Yeah, you preach accessibility and you deliver on accessibility, which as an audience member of your Substack, and I don't know if you would call it a channel or an account, that's something that really draws me to you as a just as a writer. Um, because it comes with a feeling of just acceptance at wherever somebody is at, and in the world of monetization and making anything that you're doing into a business, that kind of gets lost. And I think that, like, going forwards as a creative community and keeping the love of, like, books and art alive for future generations, that's going to become a lot more important going forwards, I think. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, I agree. And especially just with the rise of AI, like I think having some physical media and things like that is going to be to pass down is really important. So,
Yeah, like a piece of something that you can hold that's tangible, whether it be an idea or an object of physicality, something real.
right. Yeah, especially I think as our generation start like losing their older photos and storage and things like that, that more and more physical media will kind of start coming back around again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm with you on that, honestly. At least that's the hope. Um,
Well, we've been on here for a little bit. Did you have anything more you wanted to cover specifically while we're here or chat about?
um, with your I know you kind of wanted to touch on your breathwork stuff that you had coming up, right? And I know you briefly talked about your writing workshops and all of that, which I'm really excited for and for you about. And aside from that, I'm just gonna be an audience member for that and see
Sweet.
how that shakes out. I'm excited.
Yeah, I was gonna do the writing workshop Saturday. I don't know if that's gonna happen this Saturday. So I would keep an eye out on my notes and my sub chat. It'll probably be next Saturday, but I've got to figure things out because I'm starting to kind of get into panic mode with my surgery coming up. So, um, we'll
I
see. I'm
understand.
definitely gonna have to cut. I'm gonna have to cut something. I'm trying to decide right now what I'm going to, because I don't have for everything. um,
Because I'm on an unofficial hiatus, and it's
yeah,
been refreshing to just kind of go at my own pace. I'm excited for what's to come for you, and again, and I hope that everything with the surgery works out, and that's never an easy time.
no, definitely not. That's why. But I'll post on notes. My guess is I'm going to do the workshop, and it'll be next week because the workshop, it's something I offer my paid subs, so it's one thing I want to make sure that I'm delivering on. So that, and then I'll have a meditation coming out with it. But the workshop will be over developing a sense of internal safety. Specifically, we're kind of looking at, because it's Pride Month, and working with just whether you're an ally or you're LGBT, or, there's a lot of, or even if you're just not and you're just dealing with the fact of war right now. Hopefully it'll give people a little place to pause, maybe write about some stuff that makes them feel safe, and we'll read some poetry around safety. So if anybody would like to potentially have their poem read, shoot me a DM with a poem about either something specifically around the word safety, or just something in your life that makes you feel safe, like a pet, a child, whatever your heart desires. And shoot me that over. Right now, anyone that sends me a poem is getting a free 30-day paid comp. Um, so definitely do that. And then if I decide to read your poem on the live, if it's one that's selected, I'll reach out to you in DMs and just let you know and make sure I have permission to do so ahead of time.
That is such a cool
Um,
idea. I love that. I love the idea of reading other people's stuff. Thank you for doing that for just everybody.
yeah, of course. I think for a lot of my workshops that I've attended, people, they choose like open source poems and like poems that are available to the public, which is great. And I've done that a little bit, but I had people give me poems last time, and it went over really well. People really loved it. So I want to keep just, again, fostering that community in whatever way that I can. And then hopefully people will write some new poems out of the workshop, and or stories, and we can have even more sharing and fun, because I always restack all that stuff. Humans.
And then
He's so
I'm on a
sweet.
hiatus right now until I
Yeah,
can complete my long form content that I'm still editing. And I am just taking it easy and taking time to read everybody's posts for the rest of the week into the weekend. So if you want recommendations on posts, I'm always restacking stuff as well.
sure.
And then,
Yeah, this was a ton of fun.
yeah,
Oh,
I
did you
was
have
really
something
nervous.
else? I don't want to interrupt.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so bad at this. You're good.
I was really nervous because again, like I'm trying to pay it. I have an autism diagnosis now, and it's hard to learn how to be on live when it is such a new thing. I already have the challenge of learning how to do it by myself, so learning how to do it with a person has been a really cool experience. Slightly nerve-wracking, but I'm so glad that it was with you. Thank you.
Thank you for hopping on. This was a whole lot of fun, and we covered some really great topics. So yeah, I think we should do this again, because I think we have a lot more to talk about. Maybe we can make it more regular once I get all recovered and you're done
Thank
with your hiatus, of course.
Perfect. And then again, good luck with surgery and good luck with everything. And then I'll see everybody on the stack and we'll do this again and we'll plan out another one for the future.
For sure. Y'all have a good night.